Hello SpaceBreaker. Overnight genetic backup complete. Pattern deviation nominal. Have a good day.
Good morning, shipbreakers. Time to go back to work. And also to continue a train of thought that I was having. So the other day... Okay, let's try that again. So the other day I was talking about projects, things that I was working on and how many there were and what I was doing with them. And I got to thinking with this big guy, what that means for other people. Or, I guess, what advice I might be able to give to other people with regards to projects, big, small, or otherwise. Because as kids, and I don't think we realized this, maybe some of us did, maybe some of the smarter ones did, maybe the more observant ones, really. As kids, we had all the time in the world to do the things we wanted to do. All the time. I mean, again, you know, you had to go to school. And I'm certain you had chores, and your family always wanted to go on vacation or go somewhere. You know, there were moments when you had nothing, but for the most part, your time was yours. Except, I spent that time playing, as most kids do, of course. I enjoy playing. I'm sure you enjoy playing. Even now. Even now I enjoy playing. But I spent a lot of that time playing and not thinking about making or doing or producing. And I guess that's okay. I mean, if a kid's thinking about those things, then he's probably a little bit too high-strung and he needs to go outside and play anyway. But since I spent so much time playing, now as an adult, when I'm working, which, you know, takes a lot more time than going to school. Because, you know, you go to school and depending on where you live in the world, and according to my viewership data, most people live in the US, so going to school is a very limited portion of your day. You go to school, you come home, you still have half a day to do whatever. And then if you were anything like me, you stayed up all night anyway. But with work and having to pay bills and be responsible and be an adult, you don't really have that option anymore. And so you have to take the time where you can find it. You have to take the time where you can find it. And that sort of is what this is. I'm taking the time where I can find it. Oops. Back away from that a little bit. Probably should have checked that before I did that, but hey, at least it's open now. And so that's why I'm doing these little 15-minute... I started to call them podcasts, but they're not really podcasts. They're conversational gaming, non-conventional gaming. I have no idea. I'm certain there's a term for it, which will be famous in about 5 years. But for now, it's completely lost and forgotten to most people, and no one really knows or understands. I mean, don't get me wrong, people do it. That's kind of where I got the idea. If nothing else, people will talk in front of video game footage. I don't think they talk while they're recording the video game. They just record the footage and then they talk and play the footage in the background. So, you know, maybe it's a little bit different. But right now, it's just more interactive. But back to what I was saying. So you have to find time where you can, and
Transferring credits.
when I was talking about my projects and why I have so many of them, there are a couple of reasons why that is. The most obvious one is fear. Now that may sound strange, but when you have an idea, and all of you have one, everyone does. Anyone with even an inkling of imagination has one of these. Your masterpiece, as it were, or your that's what you'd call it when it's done. I'm certain there's some Latin term for it that I'm not remembering, but it's basically the one piece of art, the one project, the one story, the one, you know, book, the one whatever it might be that you as a creator want to create, but you don't want to mess it up. In your mind, it's perfect, and that's the thing. In your mind, it's perfect. It is every piece, every part, every portion, every word, every line, every color, everything came out exactly perfect. And as long as it stays inside your mind, it will always be perfect, and you won't have to actually look at it. You won't have to see its flaws and say, "Oh, that's not what I wanted. That's not how I wanted it to come out." And maybe I'm the only one who does it. That's not even true. I can't even say that. I know I'm not the only one who does it. We all do it. Maybe there's a person or two out there who are just like, let's just dive in and do this. Adam Savage comes to mind. He's the kind of guy who's very much, let's just dive in and do this. I can tell that without question. Now, maybe there was a time in the past when Adam wasn't a dive in and let's do this kind of guy, but from the stories he tells, I'm gonna have to say no. I think he was always like that. He's always a let's do this kind of guy. But for the rest of us mortals out here in the world, there's a little bit of nervousness when it comes to doing things like making something that we love or that we want to be perfect. And sometimes you can practice, and sometimes you can make it once or twice beforehand, and the more you do it, the better you get. Or you can make other projects that are in the same vein and get better at the techniques, and then combine those techniques to make the thing that you're looking for. The only problem with all that is... Sorry, I had to check my microphone. All this talking, I'm thinking to myself, did I unmute? I did. I'm fine. Of course, you know that. And now I know that. But for the rest of us, we have this project in our head that we want it to come out perfect. And I'm not a perfectionist by any means, but I don't like waste. And for me, if a project fails and I have to throw away material, or and in my mind, a failure is a massive failure. A failure is not a mini failure. A failure doesn't fail and just, oh, the paint's not exactly right, I can repaint it, or that's not what I wanted it to be there, I'll just pull it off and move it. It's literally, oh, I cut the leg off and now it's broken for always. That's how it goes in my mind. And that's not how it actually is. But, you know, worst case scenario is always playing through in my mind. And so I have difficulty starting or doing a project sometimes. While on top of that, I do like to record. Of course, I do have the other channel now. And one of my motivations for making things is that channel. That is a motivator. So I can do some stuff off camera. But the more I do off camera, the more chances are lost to show things, to show techniques, to show failures, to show things like that. And it becomes a situation where I want to work on something, but I am pressed for time. Coming back around the long way towards my initial point. I am pressed for time, so I have to put things in where I can fit them. And on top of that, my perfectionism sometimes gets in the way. But once I dive into a project, I'm there. That's the bonus part. Once I start something, I'm there. Then the only downside is figuring out what to record and how to record it. And those things have, with practice over time, gotten easier. I figured out some better camera stuff. I figured out some better work areas. I figured out what I want to include and what I don't, and how much of those things, when included, I want to keep or not. So I guess you could say I have been practicing my skills and then applying those to my projects, and it's getting easier. It's getting easier in a way, because of course the projects themselves are getting easier to pick up and complete. However, time is still the factor, because time is something that you can't not utilize, and it doesn't matter how you utilize it, but it's going to be utilized. So every time I pick up a gamepad or keyboard and mouse and I play a game, that's time that I could have spent on painting something. And anytime I'm painting something, that's time I could have spent recording one of these. And then of course there is work. As of this recording, my job takes up a large portion of my time, more than it's actually worth, if I'm to be completely honest, but we have to do what we have to do. And because it takes up so much of my time, I very rarely have time to do a lot of the things that I want to do. I actually have only maybe an hour or two, and so I have to be very very cautious, very frugal, very forward thinking with regards to the things I want to do, whether I want to record or if I want to just sit and play. And that is an important thing too. All work and no play make Jack a dull boy is not just a good line from The Shining, it really is true. If you don't absorb information, if you don't take in
You got
things,
5 minutes remaining in your shift.
if you don't watch
5
other
minutes.
people do
We were out.
crafts, then you'll not really expand. Maybe you'll have an idea here or there. Maybe you'll be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'll do that kind of thing. But you won't do it as quickly as you could if you watch other people or other things. And it doesn't matter. It could be like you read a book and you get this idea from a book with regards to a description to make a model, or you're watching a YouTuber and they show you a new technique on how to paint something or glue something, or you just get a general sense of whatever. You could even be browsing Amazon and see some upbeat, upscale model that some big company makes, and you say, wow, I want to make one of those, and you kit bash yourself one of the best models you've ever made. You don't know, but you can't, what is it? Creativity does not exist in a vacuum. It can't exist in a vacuum. You can't be creative from nothing. You have to feed the beast, as it were. You have to absorb a little bit, and again, that's more time. There's more time. So everything you do takes time. Everything. No matter what it is, it's going to take some time at some point from the rest of your day to do that thing. And so because of that, my projects tend to build up. They tend to build up because each project is
Salvage secured. Credits deposited.
each project is an act of finding the materials, or, as in most cases, discovering a material that I believe would go great with the project, and then trying to find all the other materials that would go great with that material.
Applying credits to account.
And that's usually how most of my projects go. It's always like one material leads to another, and it's never perfect. Oh, that's why. I'm trying to figure out why this doesn't want to come loose. Is that should be the whole kit, right? Yeah, okay. I think. Yeah, that's the whole kit. Okay. Yeah, here. This one's acting very strange, and I don't know why. These should come off, but they're not. Well, they won't come off the old-fashioned way, they'll come off the new-fashioned way. Oh, that might be why. Here we go. There we are. There's this. Gonna say what's going on. Okay. And so the other one should be over here.
Material accepted. Credits transferred.
There it is. I didn't cut all the edges. So what I guess I'm trying to say is that I really wish I had a way to slow down time so I had more of it, but
Credits awarded.
it's important, I think, is what I'm trying to say, to do... Why did I throw those in there? I cut them loose and then threw them into the wrong bin. Well, oh well.
Raw material process.
With as much as it is on this ship, I'm not too worried about it, but I do feel kind of silly for having done that. See, that's what happens when you're pressed for time. You don't do things properly. Alright. But yeah, so it's one of those things where, and I'm losing my train of thought a little bit, simply because I'm trying to think and do at the same time, and
1 minute left.
then you get situations where Weaver gets in your ear and starts telling you that you don't have enough time left, and you start to panic, and you think to yourself, oh, I can get this, and you start doing it, and then suddenly everything falls apart, and then you're like, oh my god, what am I doing? Everything is falling apart, and I have no idea. And then you panic, and it all fails. But we're not going to do that today. What we're going to do instead is we're going to do our best to do it right. It's almost my head. Remember, we only get one shot at this. Alright. Now, the downside to this is half of it is furnace and the other half is processor, depending on where you're looking at. But there's a really interesting way to actually clear this out. So we're going to start from back here because it's faster. Not that that matters, we only have 7 seconds left. I guess my point is, use your time wisely and use it for yourself. I'm going to say that one went a little off the rails. I had a coherent thought when I started. I don't know if it came through. If not, I hope you at least enjoyed the information I provided, whether it actually led somewhere or not. But today we made 8.7 million and we cracked that $700 million mark, which is a good start. Just 692,810,569 and 92 cents to go. Sounds amazing.
Good morning, Shipbreaker. Please enjoy the following inspirational message. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you do, you will be successful.
I love what I do, I'm going to be successful. Alright, so our interest payments went down, $69,281.06. And so full cost, $154,281.06. And our salvage income, $8,702,493.00. I don't know if that's a rounding error or what, but it's always 0 cents. You'd think that like a light or something would cost an extra couple coins here and there, but it doesn't. Alright. And with that, since we were so pressed for time, I felt like, I don't know, this is going to be an interesting one. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to go ahead and stop here for a moment. So thank you all very much for joining me, and I'll see you next shift.